Portals are probably the fastest way to get around the map in Modern Warfare 3's Zombies, and I'm going to quickly show you all the known locations for these portals, quickly explain how to use them, and some of my favorite rune locations, which are essentially codes that actually use these portals. With that known, let's get into it. Now quickly, before we get into the portal locations, I want to tell you very quickly how these actually work. These are one-way trips when you have the codes and you put them into the portal, as I'm showing you here on my game. Whatever portal you want to use, whatever code you want to use, shoot the corresponding symbols in the right order and you will be teleported to that area. You will also see the runes that correspond to the area. I'll be covering a ton of these rune locations later on and in a different video. But let's get on to the actual portal locations. We're going to be starting at the top left side of the map. This is actually one of the areas that you get dropped into half the time when you're loading into MWZ. This building is going to be very easy to find, and also so is this portal. Simply get to the back side of this building, make your way up, and between the door and these filing cabinets is where you're going to find this particular portal. Very helpful, especially because if you have 1,000 points early on, you can get to the other side of the map really quickly. Next portal, going counterclockwise, is actually going to be near the Bishop mini boss, which is also inside one of the tunnels that you see on the map as I'm scrolling in and out of the actual map itself. From where you actually fight the Bishop, which is going to be the middle of this tunnel, you'll find one of the little alcoves right near one of the exits on the eastern side. Right next to these little garbage piles, I would call them, is where you're going to actually find the portal. Moving farther east, you're going to come across this old mining plant or wood chipping plant. I'm not entirely sure, but it's this giant building that has two of them connecting. It's going to be right above Popov Power, and running in from the smaller building up the gangway that has a little trolley system, little carrier system. You go to the left, and on the left you'll see a weapons case or weapons locker. At least it was in my game, but next to this in the wall is where you'll find this portal. And speaking about Popov Power, we're moving down there next, which is just going to be south from where we just were in the previous portal location. This one can be a little tricky to find inside of this area. Once you're inside the big building, before you get to the actual reactor, which has a bunch of water in the middle, look to the gangway above you that's going to be painted yellow. Make your way all the way up these stairs, and just in front of the gangway is where you're actually going to find this portal. Again, this one took me a little bit to find. You could hear it at the bottom, but not really see it. Moving east once again to the Orlov military base, this is going to be the first of two in this location. This first one is going to be inside some broken down hotels. You'll be easily able to find this location because half of one of these buildings is blown apart, as you can see from the video. Now from this busted area, it's very easy. Go up one more flight of stairs to the very end where the building is blown apart, and you'll find this portal right next to the toilet. And I said there's a second one, which is actually inside one of the bunkers, which is farther east to the map, where you will very easily be able to see that there's two openings for bunkers in the hillside. Now the easiest way to tell which one of these to go into is not the farthest right one, but one that's more in the middle, right where you see a bunch of rocks next to one of the giant antenna shields, a giant satellite dish. You know what I'm talking about when you see it. But as soon as you go inside, immediately take a right into the first doorway, and this portal will appear right next to the circuitry box. Now, as you may be starting to notice, some of these portals are a lot easier to find than others. This one, not so much, because it's just a random house right next to the Hadiqa Farms. I'm hoping I'm not butchering that name too badly, but you want to make your way to this exact house. It's going to be on the first floor. As soon as you go past the ladder into the kitchen, it's going to appear right next to the fridge or whatever spawns in your game. And continuing with the trend of just random locations that are not as easily to find for these portals is going to be this random antenna area, this random shed next to one of the satellite stations or radio towers. I don't fully know, but you want to get to this exact location in the low town, and as soon as you come across the area, it's kind of just random. But thankfully, as soon as you start approaching this shed, you'll hear the portal start activating, and at least it's in the middle of somewhere, so you can quickly get to any other side of the map from here. Now moving into a more densely populated area with a bunch of different houses is going to be the Zaravan Suburbs, or a kind of edge of the suburbs. I don't know if you really call it the suburbs, but get to this big building on the edge of the river. On the southern side of it, go through two of the main doors and up the stairs one little time to this window that's just above the main entryway, and this portal will start activating for you. Now continuing with this suburbs area, I want you to make your way even farther south to where is essentially a gym. Thankfully, it's going to be in the tier 1 zone as well. So you know where we were just a minute ago, inside of the river area, just across from the river, I should say. You want to make your way to this particular building that will have a boxing ring inside, sometimes a pack-a-punch machine. A lot of different bounties are done in this area, but make your way into the showers just behind the boxing ring through the door, and you'll find this portal just hanging out. Another easy one to get right off the rip. Moving back into tier 2 zone, I want you to go right where the symbol that shows Zaravan City is, and two of the buildings right next to you, one is going to have runes, and another one is going to actually have a portal. The one I want you to go to for the portal is going to be the one that is actually an office building, has a little extension on the back that is a bunch of stairs. Inside of the very top floor of this that you can access from outside, going up those stairs, is going to be the portal right next to the painting and the whiteboard. Next, make your way all the way to the Rook Hotel, and I call this the Rook Hotel because there is a mini boss in here called the Rook that you have to do to get into the vault. I have a separate video on it, but you'll find the Rook in that room, which is going to be at the very top floor before the roof, and the one room down the hall is where you're going to actually find this portal. This is a very easy one to get to early on as well because it's really not far from the southeast map beach extraction point. Now, moving farther up north from the Rook Hotel over the bridge, you're going to come across this very particular train car that is going to have the next portal. It's in the Seaport district. This one can be a little tricky to find, but you'll definitely hear it when you run past this train car. It kind of echoes, or at least in my game it did, but once you do get to this train car, you'll obviously hear it, and in the back part of this train car, the portal will start opening up for you. There shouldn't be anything else in here, but I could be wrong. Now, just above the seaport and right before you get to the Levin area as well, you're going to come across this kind of conference center that has a bunch of smaller missions in the storyline and also some of the story missions where you have to go and find ether containers. Nonetheless, get your way over to this conference center, and on the second floor, you're actually going to be able to find a portal inside of the main office room, the main conference room, where you have a giant table. Right next to this giant table, you'll see very quickly that a portal will spawn pretty much as soon as you walk into this room. It's a very easy one to find. I'm going to point out a few more unique rune portal locations that weren't just the perimeter around the main central area, the T3 area as I'm going to call it. Make your way all the way to the bottom right side of the map, right next to the Shahin Manor, which is actually called the Rahan Island once you get to this location. Inside of this very modern house, make your way up to the second floor story, and inside one of the living rooms, the second living room, I guess, is where you're going to find this portal. Once again, like all these, when you get close enough on either floor, the first, second, or even the roof, you'll be able to hear these portals start activating. I've used this one to escape a lot. And speaking of the tier 3 area, there is one rune portal that I know of personally. If you have found others or know other people that have found other rune portals in the tier 3 area, please let me know. I will definitely mark it down in the description. But I will try and pinpoint it as much as possible. This area is not very big, and you can definitely find this very quickly when you're running past zombies. If you're able to put some codes in there, it'll definitely save you. Now, in the beginning of the video, I mentioned some rune locations that you plug into these portals that we just covered to transport you to different areas. I'm going to quickly show you some of my favorites to help you get around the map much easier and to high tier areas like tier 3, such as this one on the satellite dish antenna that you're going to see these 3 symbols here. A lot of people have used different naming conventions around those, so I'm going to leave it up to you how you guys want to describe them, how you want to remember them, but this is going to get you a nice overlook of the entire tier 3 area. Another good tier 3 area rune location is going to be just underneath this castle inside of a moat that I didn't know existed until someone showed me this code location, and it's a really good one because there's no zombies that spawned here. So keep this one in mind, especially if you want to get into tier 3 area without getting attacked immediately. Another great location that unfortunately does have zombies on it, but it's going to be in the Zaravan city, right next to the 2 buildings I described earlier in this video that one had a portal, one had runes. This is the one that has the runes on top of it. I'm picking this one because it's a great vantage point. You can see a lot of different areas, and once you jump off the building, you can get to most of the areas in the tier 2 area, or at least the southern half of the tier 2 area. But these are the runes that you need to use to plug in to the other portals to get to this location. Another rune location I want to quickly show you is one that's on the bottom left side of the map on the southern beach, because this is also one of the exfil sites that normally appears in games, or at least in mine. From my location, you're going to have to run a little farther back to actually find these runes. They're going to be on a random looking rock. It blends in pretty well, but when you get close enough, you'll actually see that the runes appear on just the side of these rocks. It looks a little more discolored, so it helps out a little bit, but these are the runes that you need to transport to this area. Another rune location is going to be the top right part of the map near an abandoned church, which is also where you can get a free perk. I have a video on that as well. It's Deadshot Daiquiri that you can get there, but nonetheless, if you want to quickly transport to the other side of the map, I recommend going to this location to get these particular runes. When you're looking at this abandoned church, go to the right and go into one of these broken down buildings, which is going to be the closest one, ironically. As soon as you go down the stairs, these are the runes that you can plug into other portals to get to this location very quickly. Now, I know that was a lot of information all at once in a shorter amount of time than you would probably normally like to do, so I hope you guys had paused the video to get the exact locations and probably memorize some of these rune locations. Again, I'll have a full video on all the different rune locations that have been found. I'm sure there's going to be more, but I'll have a video covering all those different locations and the actual combinations now that you have all the portal locations, or all the known locations at least. But nonetheless, I hope you guys did find this helpful. If you could, hit the like and subscribe buttons, help this channel grow a lot with the algorithm, and leave a comment down below if there's something that I missed or something you want me to cover and edit down below. With that, I appreciate you guys sticking through to the end of this longer video of mine, and I'll catch you in the next video.